The elevator jolted. The lights flickered, and then nothing. Complete darkness. I was trapped with a total stranger. The only way I could explain the sheer absurdity of my situation was with the broken English I'd spent 10 years failing to learn in school. But that 1 hour, trapped in a metal box, taught me more than a decade of textbooks ever did. It's the only reason I can tell you this story today in English. Section 1. The frustration of school English. For 10 years, English wasn't a language to me. It was a school subject. It was something that lived on a page, between the rigid lines of a notebook. My life was just this endless cycle of memorizing vocabulary lists I'd forget by the next morning, chanting verb conjugations like some magic spell that never worked, and dissecting grammar rules that felt more like math problems than a way for people to actually connect. I was taught about English. In theory, I could tell you what a past participle was. I could probably even get a decent score on a multiple choice test. But ask me to order a coffee, I'd completely freeze up. The whole system seemed designed to teach you how to pass an exam, not how to have a conversation. There was zero room for error, which meant there was zero room for real communication. We almost never had speaking activities in class. When we did, it was just a chorus of 30 students repeating the same phrases over and over, so you could never get individual feedback or even hear your own voice. It created this deep-seated fear of making a mistake, a fear so paralyzing it was just easier to say nothing at all. I felt stuck. I had all these puzzle pieces, words, rules, tenses, but no idea how to put them together. Honestly, I started to believe I was just one of those people who wasn't good at languages, that my brain just wasn't wired for it. I carried that belief with me everywhere. The idea that after a decade of trying, I was basically incapable of speaking English. And then, one Tuesday afternoon, I stepped into an elevator carrying a 6-foot-tall, bright yellow banana costume. Section 2. The elevator. The building was this old, kind of weird office complex where a friend was hosting a costume party. The theme was fruit basket. Don't ask. I was already late and felt completely ridiculous wrestling this giant foam banana into a tiny wood-paneled elevator. Just as the doors were closing, a man in a sharp business suit rushed in. He gave me a polite smile. I nodded back, trying to look as normal as you can when you're holding a giant banana. And then it happened. A violent jolt, a loud groan of metal. The main lights went out and a dim emergency bulb flickered on, casting these long, creepy shadows. We were stuck. The man pulled out his phone. No signal. He pressed the emergency button. Silence. He looked at me, a question in his eyes. He spoke, and my heart just sank. It was English. "Well," he said with a sigh, "this is not ideal. Do you happen to have any service?" My mind went completely blank. It was like a computer crashing. All those grammar rules, all those vocab lists, just gone. Under the stress, my brain just shut down. I could feel my palms sweating. I knew the words no, phone, and service, but my brain was screaming at me, "Don't mess this up, use the right sentence structure. Is it I do not have service or I have no service? Which one sounds more natural?" While this little grammatical war was raging in my head, I just stood there, silent, probably looking terrified. The man's expression changed from mild annoyance to genuine concern. He probably thought I was having a heart attack, not a grammar attack. He spoke again, slowly this time. "Are you okay?" That's when something inside me just snapped. It was pure desperation. I had to communicate. I had to explain that I was fine, that my phone was also a useless brick, and yes, I was fully aware that I was holding a giant banana. Perfection was a luxury I just couldn't afford anymore. The only goal was to be understood. I threw out everything my teachers had ever told me. I took a deep breath and pointed at his phone. No service. Then I pointed at my own pocket. Me too. No. He nodded, understanding. Right, of course. Then his eyes drifted to the giant yellow thing between us. He raised an eyebrow. I have to ask, what's with the banana? This was it, the final boss of conversational English. My mind was a panicked mess scrambling for the word costume. It wasn't there. I couldn't find party. Gone. All I had were simple, almost caveman-level words. So I started with what I had. For friend. I pointed upwards. Up. Party. He looked confused. A party with a banana? I had to act it out. I pointed to myself. Me. Wear this. I mimed putting on the costume. Then, to explain the theme, I had a flash of genius. I started pointing at imaginary fruits in the air. Party is apple, orange, grape, and me, I pointed proudly at the foam monstrosity, banana. Suddenly, a huge smile spread across his face. A real booming laugh echoed in that tiny elevator. A fruit party! You're going to a fruit costume party. He got it. He actually understood me. My grammar was a train wreck. My vocabulary was tiny. I probably sounded like a toddler, but it didn't matter. I had communicated. The relief was so intense it almost made me dizzy. For the first time, I wasn't a student trying to get an A. I was just a person connecting with another person. We were stuck in that elevator for almost an hour, and we talked. Well, he talked, and I pieced together sentences with the few words I had, using my hands, my facial expressions, and a total lack of shame. I learned he was a marketing consultant who was late for a big meeting, and he thought a fruit-themed party was hilarious. I learned that native speakers care more about what you're trying to say than how perfectly you say it. He didn't correct me once. He just listened, and we figured it out together.
Section 3. The transformation. When the maintenance crew finally pried the doors open, I felt like I was stepping into a new world. And it wasn't just relief from being trapped. It was this incredible feeling of empowerment. I had survived. I had navigated a genuinely stressful situation using my broken English. That feeling of success was worth more than any grade I ever got in school. That 1 hour completely rewired my brain. It just burned away the anxiety and the obsession with being perfect that had held me back for a decade. I had stumbled, completely by accident, onto the secret to learning a language that school never teaches you. It clicked that communication is the goal, not perfection. My broken sentences worked. Fluency isn't about knowing every single word. It's about getting your message across. The need to be perfect is a cage. It keeps you silent. Giving yourself permission to mess up is what sets you free. I also realized the power of being thrown in the deep end. You always hear that immersion is the best way to learn, but this was like immersion on steroids. When you have to communicate, when it's your only option, your brain just works differently. It stops being a filing cabinet for rules and becomes a problem-solving tool. You're forced to use what you know, and that's how you figure out what you still need to learn. And I finally understood that mistakes aren't the enemy, they're the way forward. Every time I used the wrong word or fumbled a sentence, it wasn't a failure, it was just a data point. The man in the elevator wasn't grading me, he was working with me to understand. That whole process of trying, failing, and still being understood builds a kind of confidence that no textbook ever can. The fact that I can tell you this whole, slightly embarrassing story in English today is a direct result of that hour. I stopped being a passive student and became an active participant. I started looking for conversations, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I started watching movies and listening to podcasts, not to study, but just to enjoy them. Learning switched from being a chore to an adventure. The language was no longer a bunch of rules. It was a living, breathing tool for connection. Conclusion. My 10 years in school gave me a pile of bricks and mortar, but no one ever showed me how to build a house. It took that hour in the elevator, that moment of pure necessity, to finally hand me the blueprints. It taught me that real learning happens in the messy, unpredictable, and sometimes terrifying moments of real life. So my message to you is this: stop waiting until you're perfect. Stop studying and start doing. Find your elevator. It might not be a literal one. It could be ordering food at a restaurant where no one speaks your language, joining an online gaming community, or just striking up a conversation with a stranger. Put yourself in a situation where English isn't an option but a necessity. It'll be scary, you will absolutely make mistakes, and it will be the best thing you ever do for your English. What was your elevator moment? What's the one experience that changed everything for your language learning? Share your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and I truly believe our stories can help each other more than any textbook ever could.